Not all machine guns are created equal. Some changed the face of modern warfare forever. Others, well, let us just say some engineers really needed more coffee before sitting down at the drawing board. Today, we're ranking major World War II infantry and ground support machine guns from worst to best. Starting at the very bottom, we have the Breda Modello 30. This Italian light machine gun, chambered in 6.5 by 52 mm, used a fixed 10-round feed tray permanently attached to the receiver. And here is the beautiful part. It automatically oiled every single round before feeding it, because apparently clean and dry ammunition was simply too much to ask for. Operating at around 475 rounds per minute, it was slow, brutally sensitive to sand and dust, and earned a legendary reputation for jamming at exactly the worst possible moment. Italy deployed it widely across North Africa, where the desert environment turned its flaws into an absolute disaster. Next we have the Type 11 Nambu. Introduced in 1922 and still issued to Japanese infantry throughout World War II, this light machine gun used an open hopper on the left side of the receiver that fed directly from standard 5-round rifle clips, stacked one on top of the other. It also featured its own cartridge oiling system before feeding, because apparently the Japanese and Italians were exchanging design notes on what not to do. Chambered in 6.5 by 50 mm and firing at around 500 rounds per minute, the complex hopper mechanism and carbon sensitivity made sustained reliability in combat a constant problem. Let us continue with the DS-39 Degtyaryov. Introduced in 1939 as a Soviet medium machine gun, chambered in 7.62 by 54 mm rimmed and belt-fed, it produced a rate of fire between 600 and 700 rounds per minute, which on paper sounded like a serious upgrade for the Red Army. In practice, it struggled badly with feeding failures using its semi-rimmed ammunition, and almost completely fell apart in the extreme cold of the Eastern Front. It was phased out of frontline service as early as 1943 and replaced, which tells you everything you need to know about how that experiment went. Next we have the Fiat-Revelli Modello 1914/35. This is the original World War I era 1914 heavy machine gun that Italy decided to modernize in 1935 by rechambering it to 8 by 59 mm Breda and converting it to belt feed, which sounds like real progress on paper. It still retained many of the original design's fundamental quirks, including a tendency to overheat rapidly and a mechanism that was finicky about ammunition quality. Weighing approximately 17 kilograms and still carrying the DNA of a 1914 design, it was old, heavy, and honestly not much better after the facelift. Next we have the Lahti-Saloranta M/26. Developed in Finland and entering service in 1926, this light machine gun was chambered in 7.62 by 53 mm rimmed and could accept a 20-round box magazine or a 75-round drum, firing at approximately 500 rounds per minute. It performed adequately enough during the Winter War against the Soviet Union, but it was genuinely complex to manufacture, expensive, and required a level of maintenance that field conditions often made impossible. Finland eventually phased it out in favor of captured Soviet weapons, which is a pretty honest review from the soldiers who actually had to use it. Let us continue with the MG-13. This German light machine gun, developed from the Dreyse MG design and adopted in 1930, was chambered in 7.92 by 57 mm Mauser and fed from a 25-round box magazine or a 75-round saddle drum, cycling at around 650 rounds per minute. It saw early service with German forces at the start of World War II, before being steadily replaced by the far superior MG-34, and was also exported to Portugal and Spain. Functional, but clearly a transitional stepping stone weapon that the war had already passed by before the first shot was fired. Now we have the Lewis gun. Designed by Colonel Isaac Newton Lewis and first produced in 1913, this iconic light machine gun was chambered in .303 British or .30-06 Springfield and fed from a distinctive top-mounted pan magazine of 47 or 97 rounds, firing at approximately 550 rounds per minute. A proven World War I veteran, it was still widely in service with British and Commonwealth forces in the early years of World War II, particularly during the defense of Britain, in North Africa, and across secondary theaters worldwide. Reliable and well understood, but by 1940, the British Army knew it was aging and the clock was ticking on its front-line career. Next we have the Madsen LMG. Designed in Denmark around 1902, the Madsen holds the distinction of being one of the earliest practical light machine guns ever built, which makes it remarkable that it was still appearing on World War II battlefields 4 decades later. Chambered in various calibers depending on the purchasing nation, it fired at around 450 rounds per minute from a curved box magazine of 20 to 40 rounds, using a mechanically unique Martini-style reciprocating bolt action. Sold to a remarkable number of countries and genuinely reliable for its era, but the World War II standards, the Madsen was undeniably a weapon from a completely different age of warfare. Let us continue with the Schwarzlose M07/12. This Austro-Hungarian heavy machine gun, introduced in 1907 and updated in 1912, was chambered in 8 by 50 mm rimmed and operated via a delayed blowback mechanism, which was a genuinely unusual engineering approach for a water-cooled belt-fed weapon. Producing a rate of fire between 400 and 580 rounds per minute, it was still in limited service with several nations, including Yugoslavia and Italy during World War II. Mechanically interesting, reasonably durable, and a legitimate relic of the World War I generation, still doing its job decades after it was designed. Now we have the Hotchkiss 1914. This French heavy machine gun was chambered in 8 by 50 mm Lebel and used a distinctive metallic strip or articulated belt feeding system, typically in strips of 24 rounds or belts of 249 rounds, firing at 400 to 600 rounds per minute. Air-cooled and gas-operated, it was a proven World War I workhorse that remained in service with French forces and later with Free French and resistance fighters throughout World War II. Mechanically reliable and battle-proven over decades, but the strip feed system was slow to reload under fire and added logistical complications that made it frustrating in a fast-moving engagement. Up next we have the Type 92 heavy machine gun. Entering Japanese service in 1932 and chambered in 7.7 by 58 mm semi-rimmed, fed from 30-round metallic strips and fired at approximately 450 rounds per minute, Allied soldiers nicknamed it the Woodpecker because of its slow, distinctive rhythmic firing sound that was practically unmistakable on the battlefield. Accurate and mechanically reliable, but the complete weapon system weighed approximately 55 kilograms with its tripod, making it one of the heaviest machine guns in widespread use in World War II, and a serious tactical liability for any unit that needed to move quickly. Let us continue with the Maxim 1910/30. The Soviet variant of Hiram Maxim's legendarily recoil-operated design, this water-cooled heavy machine gun was chambered in 7.62 by 54 mm rimmed and belt-fed with 250-round canvas belts, producing 520 to 600 rounds per minute. Mounted on the distinctive wheeled Sokolov mount, with the complete weapon system weighing approximately 64 kilograms, so if you were hoping to sprint with it, that was not an option. Despite its enormous weight, it was utterly dependable, deeply understood by Soviet crews, and served effectively from the Winter War of 1939 all the way through the final days of World War II. Now we have the Browning 1917 A1. Designed by John Moses Browning and entering U.S. service in 1917, this water-cooled heavy machine gun was chambered in .30-06 Springfield, belt-fed with 250-round belts, producing 400 to 600 rounds per minute, with the complete weapon and tripod weighing approximately 36 kilograms. Robust, well understood, and consistent, it served the United States Army and Marine Corps in every major theater of World War II, from the Pacific Islands to the hedgerows of Normandy, with essentially no fundamental reliability issues. Next we have the Breda Modello 37, Italy's far better heavy machine gun chambered in 8mm Breda. It was accurate, powerful, and much more reliable than the Breda Modello 30, though it was still heavy and used an awkward feed strip system. Finally, an Italian machine gun that did not feel like an apology letter. We have the BARM 1918A2, the American Browning automatic rifle used as a squad automatic weapon. It fired .30-06 ammunition from a 20-round magazine and was reliable, but it lacked a quick-change barrel and did not provide true light machine gun sustained fire. Soldiers respected it, but as a machine gun, it was doing a job it was never perfectly built to do. Number 15. Moving on, we have the Type 96 light machine gun, Japan's improved light machine gun chambered in 6.5mm Arisaka. It used a top-mounted magazine and was more practical than the Type 11, but it still carried some Japanese design quirks and ammunition limitations. Better than before, yes, though the bar was not exactly in the clouds. We have the Type 99 light machine gun, Japan's stronger follow-up chambered in 7.7mm Japanese ammunition. It kept the top-mounted magazine layout but used a more powerful cartridge, and was generally a more effective battlefield weapon than the Type 96. It was probably Japan's best light machine gun of the war, even if it never reached Bren-level greatness. Next we have the DP-27/DP-28, the Soviet light machine gun with its famous flat-pan magazine. Chambered in 7.62mm Russian, it was simple, rugged, and well suited to mass wartime use, though the pan magazine and barrel heat limited sustained fire. It looked odd, but unlike some weapons on this list, it actually did its job. Number 12, we have the DPM, the improved wartime version of the Soviet DP light machine gun. It added better ergonomics, a pistol grip, a stronger bipod arrangement, and internal improvements that made it more practical in service. It was not revolutionary, but it was a smart correction to a weapon that already worked. Number 11, let's continue with the FM-24/29, France's excellent light machine gun chambered in 7.5mm French. It was compact, reliable, and fed from a top-mounted 25-round magazine, giving French infantry a very capable squad automatic weapon. It is often underrated, mostly because France's 1940 campaign ended before the gun could build a bigger legend. We have the ZB-26/ZB-30, the Czech light machine gun family that influenced several major designs. Chambered commonly in 7.92mm Mauser, it used a top-mounted magazine, a quick-change barrel, and a very practical gas-operated layout. It was so good that the British basically looked at the concept and said, yes, we will take that idea. Number 9. Next, we have the ZB-53, also known as the Vs-37, a Czech belt-fed medium machine gun. It was powerful, reliable, and respected enough to influence the British tank machine gun and see service under multiple armies. It was not as famous as the German MGs, but historically it absolutely deserves to be near the top. We have the Browning M19A4 and M1919A6, America's air-cooled medium machine guns. They fired .30-06 ammunition, were belt-fed and extremely reliable, and served widely with infantry, vehicles, and fixed positions. They were not as advanced as the German general-purpose guns, but they were dependable, and dependability wins wars without making speeches. Moving on, we have the SG-43 Goryunov, the Soviet belt-fed medium machine gun introduced during the war. It fired 7.62mm Russian ammunition and gave Soviet forces a more modern air-cooled replacement for the heavy Maxim. Late to the party, yes, but at least it arrived wearing the right uniform. Number 6, we have the DShK 1938, the Soviet heavy machine gun chambered in 12.7mm ammunition. It was used for anti-aircraft work, vehicle mounts, heavy infantry support, and attacks against light armor and strongpoints. Big, heavy, and not subtle at all, which is exactly what a heavy machine gun should be. Number 5. Next we have the Vickers machine gun, Britain's legendary water-cooled medium machine gun, firing 33 British ammunition. It was heavy and old-fashioned, but its sustained fire reliability was extraordinary in trained hands. It was not glamorous, but it was the kind of weapon that quietly kept working, while flashier designs overheated and embarrassed themselves. Number 4, we have the Bren Gun, the British and Commonwealth light machine gun adapted from the Czech ZB design. It fired 33 British ammunition, used a top-mounted magazine, had a quick-change barrel, and earned a reputation for accuracy and reliability. As light machine guns go, the Bren was so good that even sarcasm has to sit down and behave. Number 3, let's continue with the MG34, Germany's highly advanced general-purpose machine gun. Chambered in 7.92mm Mauser, it could serve from a bipod, tripod, vehicle mount, or defensive position, making it one of the most flexible machine guns of the war. Its main problem was that it was expensive and finely made, because apparently even genius can be a little high maintenance. Number 2, we have the Browning M2 heavy barrel 50 caliber, America's legendary heavy machine gun. It fired 50 BMG ammunition and was effective against aircraft, light vehicles, fortifications, and exposed personnel across a wide range of mounts. It was the best heavy machine gun of World War II, and the fact that it kept serving for decades says more than any dramatic narrator ever could. Number 1, finally we have the MG42, Germany's stamped metal general-purpose machine gun chambered in 7.92mm Mauser. It combined terrifying firepower, fast production, belt feed, quick barrel changes, and tactical flexibility on bipods, tripods, defensive positions, and vehicle mounts. It was not perfect, because it overheated and devoured ammunition, but as the best overall World War II machine gun, the MG42 takes the top spot. So that is the ranking from the most flawed machine guns of World War II to the most effective overall designs. Some were outdated, some were awkward, some were brilliant, and a few changed machine gun design for decades after the war. The MG42 wins best overall, the Browning M2 wins best heavy machine gun, the Bren wins best light machine gun, and the Vickers wins best sustained fire classic. And yes, the Breda Modello 30 still wins the award for making everyone else look better.